Feels like a sneeze is coming on. There we go. Okay. Welcome, welcome. Just getting a little sip of hydration. So I wanted to share a find from today. This isn't it. However, this book is. Look at that. I don't know if you can see in the camera. It's actually gold metallic. The Golden Ratio Coloring Book and Other Mathematical Patterns, Inspired by Nature and Art, by Steve Richards. And I'll just read to you the back. Many of the intricate waves, loops, spirals, and geometrics that can be found in nature and art have their basis in math. However, the glorious patterns in this coloring book require absolutely no prior knowledge in order for you to admire and add color to them, accompanied by short descriptions of particularly important shapes and structures. These intricate illustrations offer you the chance to create stunning designs of your own. And it says larkcrafts.com. So this is the Golden Ratio coloring book. Has lots of beautiful sacred geometry mandalas in here. And just saying, I didn't purchase this book for the sake of a coloring book, but for the sake of connecting on a certain level with geometry, with sacred geometry. And it's a very well done little book. Like for instance, right here, it asks, what is the golden ratio? Phi, is that pi or phi? I think it's phi, because pi is pi, right? I don't know, I have to call my son up. Anyway, phi is the ratio, is the irrational number, approximately 1.618, which we represent using the symbol O. It can be derived from a geometric quality. If we divide a line length x into two sections of lengths y and z, so that the ratio xy is the same as the ratio yz, then each of these ratios is equal to, I guess it's pi. Okay. It's also known as the golden ratio. Yes, I think that is pi. 1.618. Yeah. Okay, so I figured it out. Anyway, and that's my final answer. The golden mean, or the divine proportion. Then it gives you an example of a geometric shape using the golden ratio. Hope I didn't lose you there. I got a little contemplative. So this book is going to be some inspiration, fodder for inspiration. Look at all these beautiful designs. Then it gives you the Fibonacci spiral and a design utilizing aspects of the Fibonacci spiral. So it's an absolutely stunning book. And for those who aren't keen on coloring in something like this, nice photocopy. Spira Mirabilis. The mathematician Jacob Bernoulli described the logarithmic spiral, the self-similar curve that is closely related to the Fibonacci sequence, as Spira Mirabilis, or it could be Spira Mirabilis, I'm not sure. The marvelous spiral, okay, Spira Mirabilis. Using the same basic principles, architects, and designers have created a wide variety of curved patterns that mimic the patterns found in shells and flowers. So there you go with that. And so although this book doesn't really go into the mathematics of it, oh, look at this, the icosahedron. These are the 5 platonic solids. Let's see. It goes right on through there. Now this book, Sacred Geometry, just getting a little position. This book, Sacred Geometry, sorry about the light there. This book, Sacred Geometry, for artists, dreamers, and philosophers. This one will give you mathematics in it, as you can see. As well as harmonics. And so these two are going to be studied by me over the next 2 seasons to prepare for my upcoming art exhibit. I've never seen a round protractor before. Maybe I have when I was really, really young. It's been a while. I did take geometry when I think I was a senior, and I was the only senior in a class with 10th graders, and somehow I managed to give birth to a son who is studying quantum physics in grad school. It never ceases to amaze me. I know this one is a ruler. And that's a protractor or something like that. And one of these, I guess, is a right triangle. And would this be a isosceles triangle? Something like that. I cannot say that math or geometry or any of that was my favorite class in high school. It was not, and I won't tell you how many times I took college algebra till I just dropped out. However, now as I'm becoming a woman of a certain age, mathematics has really been speaking to me the last couple of years. You know, it's I see it as a sacred tool. So I am ready to do whatever it is you do when you deal with mathematics. And oh, here, let me show you this one. Okay, so this is another type of protractor. I guess all the degrees. I don't know. I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm going to be meeting math like I'm meeting it for the first time. And hi, Jasmine, welcome. Oswald, I'll get to your question, how hard? Okay, so I'll tell you the story about how I find my books. What was I gonna say? Oh, about the tools. I'm committed to learning what these tools are, how you can use them. I never could figure out how to use. I'm sure we did some degree angles in high school, but gosh, elementary school is so long ago. Anyway, I'm committed to working with these tools and manifesting. Okay, so Oswald Spangler, welcome. Wanted to know how hard were those books to find? Okay, here's my deal, Oswald. When I'm being led by the unseen forces, the universe, spirit, however you want to term it, self, the deep unconscious, I don't know. Here's the deal. Okay, I was approached by the director of a local art facility, art exhibit place, and to do a project wall, which would be a solo exhibit of a wall about 14 by maybe 17 feet, I'm not sure. And so I said yes, and it was put off a couple of times over the last year and a half, and we finally settled on a date for April 3rd, 2019. And when I received the, call or email, what is going to be the title of your project that you're going to do? Well, from the very beginning of my, I use the term professional artist career. For the mere fact, I have been commissioned by artwork several times for artwork several times. I began selling my art online back in 1998 on eBay. I was actually one of the first self-representing artists. I'm not saying I was the first, but I was among the first group of people. I am not academically trained or college educated art person. I am self-taught. There is a purity in that. However, the one thing that is difficult as a self-taught artist, or for, say, myself, is not the benefit of classes where you're taught how to utilize certain techniques to get a certain effect. So therefore, one year I had decided to create greeting cards for the Jewish holiday, High Holy Days, Yom Kippur. I think I created a card, and a menorah card for Hanukkah. And I was like, what would be the most efficient way to replicate these cards? And somehow I came up with silk screening. And I had no idea how to silk screen. So I did research. And this was the days before YouTube. So, eventually I figured it out. So, yes, I am Oswald. However, I am no longer religious. No. Okay, so I want to lose my train of thought. And so over the years, I've painted on silk. I've painted on, fabric, silk. Actually, I learned how to wrap a canvas by being over at the New Arts program when the director, I happened to stop by one day, and he was wrapping canvases. Stapling them on the frame. And probably about 2-3 years after that, one day I woke up and I said, I want to start experimenting with wrapping my own canvases and using oil paints. And I replayed in my mind's eye exactly what I remember James doing. I went and ordered all of the different tools that I needed, and I somehow remembered how to wrap a canvas after the 3 years. So that's the hardest part about being a self-taught artist, is that if there are certain techniques that you would like to do or learn how to make something, it's kind of like, why reinvent the wheel? But two things. One, you spend a lot of money if you make a lot of mistakes. And the second thing is, it is a beautiful experience to perfect something so that you get the right results that you feel in your mind's eye. Okay? And there is a deep satisfaction that comes along with that I don't think I would have gotten just by following someone's, chronological list of this is how you do it. I followed my own trial and error, frustration, and, so that's a beautiful thing. So anyway, back to how difficult it was to find these books. I did not find these books. These books found me. And this is usually how it happens when I've come across some of the most profoundly impactful books that I have in my library, which my library is not as big as it has been before. So I've gotten rid of a lot of books, but I don't know, maybe 300 books, 500, I don't know, somewhere between there. I know that's not a lot with some people, but I do love my books, and I did pay for storage for 4 years for my books. But anyway, so James, his graphic designer, wanted to know what my title was, and I need to have a title and explain it. So of course, sacred geometry, geometric shapes, symbolism, that was the first thing. So I said, okay, well, it has to be sacred geometry. This is what is near and dear to my soul. And from there, let's see. Actually, no, Oswald, majority of my books are either on Kabbalah, on some on energy healing, the Sefer Yetzirah, a large Buddhist library, because I am a Buddhist minister, 1 or 2 books on physics. I have some of my eldest son, he's a cognitive psychologist, a researcher, second-year grad student, and I have several of his university textbooks on psychology. Welcome. And traditional Chinese medicine. I have a book by Snyder. Oh, his name is escaping me. He's the guy who did a lot of writing on wild living. I have his book, The Practice of the Wild, and books on tarot, that kind of thing. So anyway, when I came up with the topic of sacred geometry, I was like, okay, I want to approach this in a what would be the word? Methodical way of doing it, not just, artsy, abstract, and just all spiritual, quote unquote, spiritual talk or woo woo. I didn't really want to go down that path. I wanted my sacred geometry project to have substance. So in my mind, that meant that I needed to understand the math, or at least partially have some rudimentary understanding of the math behind sacred geometry. The construction of it, make sure I understood the Fibonacci sequence and how would I execute the Fibonacci sequence, etc. Or the 5 platonic solids, which is the one that really, speaks to me. So I said, okay, I did some search on Google, and I came up with only one website that had some historical information to it, but not heavily on the math or anything like that. It did talk about the sacredness, the sacred geometry, but it wasn't overly woo-woo. But it was 1 page, and what was I going to do with that? So I usually just, release that thought out there. Books find me. And this is how it happened. I was walking down the street from the health food store, and a little voice said, "Come into the bookstore. There's something here for you." And I was just like, okay. So I walk into the bookstore. Didn't have any cash on me, I don't think. Whatever a couple of dollars I had, I spent it at the health food store. So I'm just like looking and looking and looking and looking. And then, I wasn't looking for anything in particular. I was just browsing. What I always do, go to the same section like a broken record, which is the metaphysical, spiritual, Buddhist section. And so I was looking, and funny. Anyway, I just happened to look on the shelf and I saw this book. And I was like, oh, Sacred Geometry. Sorry for the light, guys. Ay, ay, ay. Sacred Geometry for the artists. That's me. For the dreamers. Yeah, I dream. And for the philosophers. I'm kind of a philosopher. Secrets of Harmonic Creation. Uh-oh. And so I look in here, I started skimming the pages, and I see numbers and, mathematical sequences coming up, and architecture and Vesica Pisces and all of that. I'm like, oh my God, look at that. It's like, this is calling my name. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? I have no idea what I'm looking at, but it is the most beautiful thing next to my children. Let's see. This is just, this is beautiful. I'll show you a little bit of what I started, okay? Because what I'm doing right now is just getting tactile, acquainted with the geometry and the flow. This is chapter 1, the field of harmony, and the creation of Vesica Pisces, the overlapping, starting of the flower of life, etc. Okay, let's see if I can reach for this little painting. So what I plan to do is, first just intuitively get in touch with the sacred geometry, get in touch with the geometric shapes and, how they move and merge into each other. So I decided to get out my canvas board and my new gelatos and just freehand try to replicate that Vesica Pisces right there. Okay, so I'm just doing that freehand. Maybe I had coffee and maybe I didn't drink, and so this is what I came up with. Now this is completely freehand, so cut me a slack. I know it's not completely circular, but it's just for me, flow of consciousness. And so I'm just getting in touch with the shapes and the feels and and the textures of it. And of course, as I'm going through it, look at the numbers, get acquainted with the numbers and see how they're connecting to each other. The numbers and their sequence and how they relate to each other tells a story. And I am committed to attempting to decipher what that story is, which that story I believe is embedded in the code of the, I don't even know what you call it, the equation. Yeah, so equation. And that's why I got my tools. I was very happy with this purchase today. I got my tools. I was thinking this morning or last night, I was thinking, I remember when I got my first power tool. This was years ago, and I wanted to do micro painting on dominoes. And I needed a power tool so I could drill a hole in the domino. And I went and got what do you call those things? Not a router. Is it a router? A Dremel. Yes. I got a Dremel at Home Depot. I got the one. Oh my God. I was so excited with my Dremel. So anyway. Running off at the mouth. So, this book called to me at the bookstore, and I went in, and there was one copy up on the display, and I was just beside myself. And it is by Inner Traditions. I believe that. Yes, Inner Traditions, which I think Inner Tradition used to be Weiser's Books Publishers years ago, I believe. Don't hold me to it. But Inner Traditions, they kind of remind me of Shambhala publication, Shambhala Classics. They always, they put out books that are really solid and very impactful. I've never seen an Inner Traditions book that wasn't published with good quality, both substance as well as, appearance. So this book, but it was pricey. It was pricey. It was $40. It was pricey. But when I looked at it, the title says it all. Sacred Geometry for Artists, Dreamers, and Philosophers. I knew that I had to have this book and that it was going to help me to create an art exhibit. It was going to give me the mathematical foundation that I needed to have, like I said, a rudimentary understanding of the numbers, because the numbers are sacred. And that's how I found that book. Or, let me rephrase that. That is how this book found me. And then, of course, I saw you can purchase it on Amazon. But it found me, it called to me, and I said, Hineni, here I am. Okay, and this book, the Golden Ratio Coloring Book, again, I was not looking for this book. I went into a store that I'd probably be embarrassed to tell people that I shopped at, but I did. I'm not going to say their names, but I was in this store and I went to purchase tools I went to browse, and then I decided I was going to purchase some tools for block printing. And as I was getting the tools for block printing, I'm like, okay, well, I want to go ahead and publish my oracle cards, my Kabbalah oracle cards, which is the Hebrew alphabet, the Aleph Bet. I was like, I could do a block print of the Aleph Bet. And I was like, yeah. And I started getting the tools for that, but then I was like, something didn't quite feel right. I was like, no, I don't really need to do that. No, it's not Walmart. But I would say it's the Walmart of the arts and craft world. How's that? Okay. So anyway, so I must have been in this store for about a good half hour, maybe 40 minutes. And I kept going back and forth. Yes, there's some mosaic stuff, but I'm not ready to really dabble in mosaics right now. I did that years ago. I need to stay focused. As an artist, my attention span sometimes can be like, okay, so we're going to talk about look at that pretty butterfly over there. That's what one of my sons said to me. He was probably about 14, 15. He's like, Mom, you're like, yeah, let's have a conversation with Mom. And all of a sudden you're like, look at the pretty butterfly. It's like, yeah, that's me. So anyway, it's like, okay, so what am I going to do? So I kept looking and looking and looking. And then I started going into the back where the art frames were. And it's getting close. I really need to go. And I was like, okay, there's something here. Okay, there's a book here that's calling my name. And, well, actually, I did get the protractors and all of that. And I was looking for a particular book. It wasn't on this Sacred Geometry per se. But all of a sudden I saw this rack and it had all of these adult coloring books. I was like, ooh, that's interesting. What? Golden Ratio. And that's how I found this book. So books find me the most substantive, whatever, can't get the word out, ones that help me, whether it's in my spiritual practice or my art, which for me, they're one and the same. They usually find me. So if you're looking for something to stimulate your creativity, help you see something a little bit different, check out this book. Some beautiful images on it. I remember when my second son was in high school, and he was really into photography, and he'd take pictures of the tree, and he was a pretty good photographer. And I used to say to him, I said, you know, why don't you get up really close to it and then look at it at an angle, you know, get a different vantage point, a viewpoint on what you're taking a photo of. And that is where the art is. You know, people like to debate, are photographs art? Well, it depends. What reason was it taken for? Was it taken just to preserve a memory? Or was it taken because a person wanted to give you a perspective of the way they view the world? That's when it becomes art. So there you go. Alrighty. Hope you found something here that you liked. You can check out Sacred Geometry for Artists, Dreamers, and Philosophers. John Oscar Lieben, which one of our people in the chat room said Lieben is German for heart or love. Was it love or was it heart? Let's see. For to love. John Oscar. And you can find this on Amazon. And then the Golden Ratio Coloring Book. And I'm pretty sure you can probably find that on Amazon. Or go to your local independent bookseller. There you go. Check them out. I support my local independent bookseller. They are amazing folks. Matthew and Rebecca over at Firefly Bookstore, along with Erica and Jesse, who work there as well. And Liz, but Liz had to leave she was getting more hours at the library, but we miss Liz. They just are amazing booksellers who are extremely meaningful part of our community here in Kutztown, Pennsylvania. Yes, that is Pennsylvania, Dutch land. Anyhow, let me just check out. Let me just check out the chat room. When I'm there, I do not mention Amazon. But I encourage people to shop wherever they feel. And I've also spoken to people who work for Amazon and, you know, who worked for them in the past, gotten their opinion. And yes, I do know that Amazon is probably not the nicest to authors, to, you know, and their money. So, you know, there's always some quote unquote eval that we can rage against. But anyway, you guys have an excellent, excellent night. May you dream in spirals and slide down the Fibonacci spiral of love, and remember to be thankful for even the smallest thing. Okay? And I will see you guys soon. Please thumbs up this video. Please share it. Thank you, Oswald, for being here, and everyone else who are here. Jasmine, and let's see, Vicky, and let's see. Or those are the ones that actually chatted. We got a few more watching. Bye. Take care, and let's take a moment to remember our ancestors and all those who have come before us. This is Tamu Ngina, Priestess Heart. I wish you peace, sweet peace, and great bliss. Until next time.